Okay, it looks like my recording stopped, so I'm starting again. So the next question is talking about the next question is talking about discuss the main principles of data ethics as well as what companies organizations could do to uphold these principles. Yes, there are four principles of data ethics that are generally acceptable. There is a raging debate about uh, between, I mean, in the industry or generally around privacy and ethics on the best practice, but certain principles are agreed as basic, and that ones are not left for continuous debate. So these are the principles about privacy, transparency, uh, transparency, equality, and then accountability. Privacy essentially is saying that an individual has a right to his or her data, and so we should seek consent before we collect and process individual data. Companies should seek consent from individuals before they collect, process, and handle their data. So if an individual gives a consent, yes, we can then collect data, process, and handle it. Now, the second principle is saying that we companies should be transparent. Transparency is talking about company has to have an overview, clear overview that will be shared with the individual whose data is about to be collected, stating that this is the reason why we need to collect this data. This is how we will handle the data. This is how we will process the data, both, and how we will handle it both internally and externally. So as an individual, I know if you are going to share my data with some other third party or some other teams outside your organization, I need to have a visibility and a conscientious visibility on how you are going to handle it. So, so that's what uh, transparency is talking about. Then the the next principle, which is the third one, is talking about accountability. Accountability. Sorry, shit. Accountability is talking about companies having, having given the fact that there are privacy laws. My wife is trying to call me, and so given the fact that sorry, please, I'll just answer her briefly and I'll continue with the discussion. LAMC, LAMC.
Okay.
Yeah, please, Mo, I'm meeting. Let me call you back. That's why I'm declining it. I'll call you back. Sorry. So, so accountability essentially, that's what I want to explain. The third principle of data ethics. It's talking about given the fact that there are privacy laws that govern, established by government that governs how companies collect and process and store uh, individuals' data. These laws in them enshrines, the need for responsibility, and on the part of organizations that collect data, in which case they ensure that everything they are promised in the transparency part that I just explained is ensured to the letter. So in a case that a company has given a vouch, that we're going to process your data like this. This is how we are going to save it. We are sharing with third party. Um, every no issues are going to come out of it, and we are going to have guidelines that are going to ensure that there is no untoward development. So if eventually all the promises that the company collecting data, made promise about is now not the case eventually, then the company will be held accountable and is responsible for the untoward, or unsavory eventuality that happens. So that's what accountability is saying. Then the last and the fourth principle is about equality. It's saying that companies that are collecting data and processing data of individuals should not make a discrimination between groups or between individuals. You know, there should not be any form of bias at all. So if you have, there are various forms of bias that could happen in data handling, which corrupt integrity of data, and the privacy law also talk about all this. So the data ethics is saying there should not be any form of bias. Individuals and groups should be treated as equal in how we collect data for the purposes, for which they are needed and processed. So that's about the four principles of data ethics. Um, so as well as what companies organization could do to uphold these ethics. So I think I talked about that along the line. Companies want to ensure that they have a data security system that that guarantees the privacy of individual by sharing, for example, in a website of a company that collects data for a marketing purpose or for whatever, there should be a clear statement about privacy that is talking about, we know that you have a right to your data, and you can decide whether you want to share with us or not. But this is what we want to do, want to use with your data. This is how we process it. This is transparency now. The first one is saying, you know, agreeing to the rights of individual and then seeking their consent. So, the website like that the message on the website that wants to collect data will carry that message. Will give that detail, and then go ahead to talk about transparency, what they want to do to collect data for, how they will process data, how they will handle it. If they are sharing with third party, outside, what would those third party will be doing with the data? How would they guarantee that the data is secure? All those details should be there, in the terms and conditions. And then they can also ensure that their data security system is such that, has there are various forms people need to sign procedure. Data is encoded. There are several techniques that companies can do to ensure that there is a regime of security that ensures that unauthorized access to company data, because after they collect the data, it becomes company data, but it's also some individuals' data, So ensure that unauthorized access is prevented, to the data. And then by ensuring avoidance of bias, which will also be part of the definition of their data security procedure. This will also ensure that we can take care of all the four principles. So the next discussion is question 4, which says, imagine you're an analyst at a financial services company and you have some concerns about bias in the way a predictive model was measured. How will you raise your concern with your manager? Make some suggestions on how to measure bias in the future. Now, measurement bias is a kind of bias that happens when there's an error with a machine or individual that did the recording of data. So, I think I need to start recording again because this one is also about finishing. Sorry, I think it stops.